Hello everyone, I'm Jake, and today I'll be reviewing Myrel Shield of Argive. This comes after the most recent set, the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. I've always flirted with building a Myrel deck ever since Brothers War, but after some recent printings from Lord of the Rings and now Ixalan, it was like I cannot resist any longer. Myrel is a 3/4 human soldier for 3 and a white that says, during your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantment. This is basically a grand abolisher in your command zone, which your opponents will come to hate very fast. Whenever Myrel attacks, create X 1/1 colorless artifact creature tokens, where X is the number of soldiers you control. If you like going wide, this might be the deck for you. The strategy is simple. Get Myrel out as fast as possible, make sure she's protected going into the late game, and come crashing down on your opponent's board states with your infinite number of soldiers. For ramp, we have land tax, Sword of the Animus, Pearl Medallion. Land tax not only gets you those basics that you need, it also thins out your deck. And something I never knew about land tax, it is a May ability. So if you don't want to keep discarding 3 lands every turn, you can stop this loop. Sword of the Animus, fantastic because it buffs your commander, so it makes it harder to kill. And in the process, every time Myrel attacks, it gives you a basic onto the battlefield. Pearl Medallion makes all your white spells cost less, which is going to help out a lot for certain win cons that are in this deck that are very expensive. Then you have your normal artifacts, Wayfarer's Baubles, fantastic, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Pearl Medallion, and Mind Stone that can be sacrificed in a time of need. Moving on to removal, we have Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile, Generous Gift, Mono White All-Stars. The only thing I'm kind of considering is removing Path to Exile because, yeah, it gets rid of something, but it ramps your opponents. And there is a lot of removal in this deck in the form of creatures. Those creatures including Intrepid Hero and Catapult Master. Intrepid Hero also counts as a soldier, and you can tap it to destroy any creature with power 4 or greater. This can destroy your opponent's commanders. Catapult Master, probably the single best piece of removal in this entire deck. Tap 5 untapped soldiers, exile target creature. Catapult Master doubles as a soldier and can exile any creature with 5 untapped soldiers. This ability can also be done at instant speed. Mass removal we have by invitation only, 5 mana. Pick a number between 0 and 13. Each player sacrifices that many creatures. This deck makes a lot of creatures, so getting rid of 10 when you have 60 is not so bad when it's kind of a one-sided board wipe to your opponents. Everything comes to dust. I put this in thinking all my soldiers would be protected. Now when I actually read the card, I realized Myrel makes artifact creature soldiers. So if you convoke this spell with all those tokens, all your soldiers will be protected, but then it says exile all artifacts. So all the tokens made with Myrel will be gone. Winds of Abandon can exile 1 creature or exile all your opponent's creatures. This is one of my favorite board wipes in the game, and it is also a potential win con, but we'll get into that later. Mono white card draw, starting off Tokacious Welcome, 3 mana enchantment. Every time Myrel makes one of those tokens, you will be drawing a card off Tokacious Welcome. Benny Brax, another great choice because it has Convoke, so it's basically free. And at the beginning of each end step, if you created a token, which with Myrel, beginning of your end step, you will draw a card. Also, if you have a Brimaz and you decide to block, he makes a Cat Soldier token, which will trigger Benny Brax on that end step. Mentor the Meek doubles as a soldier, and you could pay 1 to draw as many as you want when Myrel attacks. Great card. Idol of Oblivion, you probably saw this coming. 2 mana artifact, tap it, draw a card only if you made a token this turn. 4 Nox. This card came out recently in the Doctor Who expansion. I want to try it out. It's 3 mana. It's a 3 mana draw for in mono white. That's fantastic. And it could be brought back with something like a Sun Titan, which I do have in this deck. Smuggler Share is also a great choice for value. If your opponents are having a good game, you're also going to be having a good game because you're benefiting off of them. Esper Sentinel, one of the best card draw outlets in mono white. It's 1 mana, can go down on turn 1. It is also a soldier, so it even synergizes a lot more with this deck. And of course, Skull Clamp, top 3 equipment in Magic the Gathering. You're going to make a ridiculous amount of 1/1s, and Skull Clamp will allow you to have 20 cards in your hand. Now, really building your military might, going as wide as possible to overrun your opponents. Mondrak, 4 mana creature, doubles your tokens, and can give itself indestructible. Anointed Procession. Enchantments are already the hardest permanent to remove in the game. This enchantment doubles your creature tokens. Roaming Throne, a brand new card from the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. It doubles the triggered abilities of all your soldiers, which includes Myrel's attack trigger, so you get it twice. And of other soldiers you have in the deck, I think Esper Sentinel, which I had just covered, is a triggered ability whenever an opponent casts a non-creature. But yeah, that should work. I believe Roaming Throne would double that as a triggered ability, so you could potentially draw 2. Let me know down in the comments if that's right. I don't want to go to the rules text to look at it right now. Next, another brand new card, Ozure Talk, triples the amount of creature tokens you make, and if it is destroyed, it comes back as a land, which can be easily flipped back into its creature side. Now, very important category is protecting your board and your commander. Boromir, Warden of the Tower, 3 mana, you can sacrifice it to give all your creatures indestructible. It is also a soldier. Bastion Protector is fantastic to protect Myrel, so you can keep swinging and getting that attack trigger. Rescue Retriever, when it enters the battlefield, puts a 1/1 counter on all your soldiers, including your tokens, so it could be an end the game card, but more importantly, it prevents all damage that would be dealt to attacking soldiers you control. And They Shall No Fear is a 2 mana instant that gives all your creatures indestructible, and it also gives them +1 power, so if you are attacking and you just that little bit extra juice to finally end the game. Clever Concealment, 4 mana instant, it has Convoke, so potentially could be cast for free, and phases out any number of target non-land permanents, so you can protect your entire board state. Mithril Coat, fantastic equipment, 3 mana. When it ETBs, you can attach it to a legendary creature you control. Myrel. Now, the very spicy category that everybody's excited about, I Win the Game cards. Elish Norn, Grand Cenobite, gets rid of all your opponent's chump creatures and buffs all your 1/1s. Golden Knight Commander, which gives 1/1 for every creature that enter the battlefield this turn. Mirror Entity is great because you can change the base power and toughness of all your creatures. So if you have 8 mana, all your creatures have become 8/8s. Moonshako Cavalry, this is what I meant by kind of the more expensive win cons, but it gives all your creatures XX, where X is a number of creatures you control plus flying. So if you have 30 creatures, all your creatures get 30/30 plus flying. This is Mono White's version of a Craterhoof Behemoth. Odoric Master Tactician, if you attack with Odoric and at least 3 other creatures, you can choose how your opponent's block, which includes not blocking. It's kind of a pseudo unblockable for all your creatures. Now, Winds of Abandon is great. Only cast this card if you are sure you are going to win on this turn, because it exiles all your opponent's creatures if you overload it, but it also gives them a basic land for each creature. You really don't want to let them untap with 20 lands. Chroma's Will, a staple in game ending card, gives your creatures protection from everything and can also double as a protection spell if need be. Halo Fountain, probably the scummiest way to win in this deck, and I don't know why they printed this card. Pay 5 mana, untap 15 creatures, you win the game. Cathar's Crusade, it's kind of like Golden Knight Commander, but the only difference is your creatures actually keep the 1/1 counters, and it's not until the end of turn. Moving into your maybe cards, Keeper of the Accord, Court Street Denizen, Defiler of Faith. If I get rid of a removal spell, it will most likely be for one of these 3 cards. I had Keeper of the Accord, but I took it out for Thousand Moon Smithy, which I really like because it makes this Gnome Soldier token that could be absolutely massive, and the land on the other side could make more of those tokens. Court Street Denizen is good because it can tap your opponent's creatures to help Myrel get through, and Defiler of Faith will not make your white spells cost less, and whenever you cast a white permanent spell, you make a soldier token. Depending more or less on your budget, Recruiter of the Guard, Ranger Captain of Eos, and Smothering Tithe. I'm not a big fan of tutors, which is why I didn't go with Recruiter of the Guard. Ranger Captain of Eos is good, but realistically, the only thing you will be tutoring is an Esper Sentinel, but it can shut off your opponents for a turn. Smothering Tithe, one of the best white cards ever printed in Magic. I decided not to go with it, just because I like the deck the way it is. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been my review on Myrel Shield of Argive. If you have any comments or suggestions, please let me know down below. I appreciate any and all feedback. Thank you all for watching, and always remember, real Magic players don't mulligan one land Sol Ring hands.